Hi everyone, it is Liam and Rob here from U.S Sports Scholarships here for our online hockey seminar. A little quick intro. So I am Liam Barrett, MD here at U.S Sports Scholarships, and very much international because we're joined by Rob Harwood, who heads up our field hockey program, and he's currently in Australia. So I feel like there's no other place to start, Rob, but tell everyone what are you doing out in Australia right now?
Yeah, so I've come across to play a hockey season in Perth. So Perth's the sort of hub of Australian hockey. It's where the national team are based and the under 21s program's based. So it's one of the sort of strongest leagues that you can play in the world at the moment. And yeah, I've come out to play a season here.
Yeah, nice. And so you've had a few games now, and obviously I've noticed you have scored. That's always my first question to you. But how have you found the standard for
Yeah,
the first few games?
yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's definitely a step up from the club hockey. In Scotland, it's the league's just so competitive from top to bottom. Any team can sort of get a result on any given day. So
Yeah.
it's been really good, and we're sitting fourth at the moment in the playoff spots, which is sort of the target for the season. So going well so far.
Yeah, cool. Brilliant stuff. So for those of you joining us, we realize some of you are going to be at different stages of the process. For some of you, it might just be an initial interest into what even does it entail going out to America to play on a scholarship. Obviously, we're here specifically to talk about women's hockey, and for others, you might be well versed in it. You could be, quite far down the process. So hopefully this is helpful. Should be like 35 minutes as an introduction for everyone so you can learn more about that and also how we can help and how we work with our student athletes to make sure they get the best school for them academically, athletically, location wise, and financially ultimately. But I thought, Rob, a good place to start, because obviously coming from men's hockey situation, is kind of get some background about your situation. And for some people, they might not even realize that men's hockey scholarship opportunities aren't there. So, yeah, it'd be great to hear about your background.
Yeah, so I started playing hockey when I was about 10 years old. A few of my friends at schools played it, and I sort of started it just as a social sport, not thinking that I would take it too seriously. At that point, football was my main priority, and I played hockey and football until I was about 16, playing pro youth football for Dundee United at the time. And at that point, I started to get into the Scotland under 16s hockey squad, and it just became too much to sort of manage both. So at that point, I took hockey as the main priority, and since then went on to play under 18s, 21s, and subsequently senior international. I got my first cap in 2018 and got selected for the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games in 2018. And since then, I've managed 46 senior caps, having gone to Birmingham Commonwealth Games just last year in 2022. Club hockey, I've played at Western Wildcats in Glasgow, so my whole career came through as a junior. Played there um, for 12 or 13 seasons now. We represented Scotland in Europe last year in the EHL, which is the sort of highest tournament that you can play in Europe, sort of the Champions League of hockey. And we'll be doing that again next year. And as we've touched on, I've come out to play a season in Perth this summer.
Yeah, perfect. And you did well not to mention that you are a Celtic fan there, so I'm actually impressed. But don't want to put off those Rangers fans that might be listening, so don't hold it against them. But yeah, also kind of like obviously America, you've got some experience there. Obviously, your other half. You've said obviously that it had been something you'd like to do. So yeah, it'd be great to hear kind of more about that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that unfortunately is not available to men's to go out and play on a scholarship, or it's not a sport that you can play in American college. But my partner played in Canada, and she had a university career in Canada, sort of experienced firsthand the facilities and how big college sport is over there. And it was just totally different level to sort of what I experienced at university here in the UK. While being like an international athlete here, still just didn't sort of compare facilities, time, budget wise to what is available across there, which yeah, is something that I would have loved to experience, but unfortunately, as I said, it wasn't quite available, which is also sort of why I've come out to Australia to try and experience different style of hockey, different culture, and again, just the facilities that are available when that sport is prioritized there is really good, great to see.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what I'd say to a lot of people, I know it can seem bizarre, like there's other differences like women's rugby being an official sport, whereas men's rugby isn't yet with the NCAA. I think a lot of it, and although not directly comparative, but there's other sports for men's hockey such as lacrosse, which is absolutely huge in the States, right? So there's only so many sports you can have, but I think it's one where who knows, right, over time it's something that could be added. But yeah, really appreciate the insight there. And obviously Rob brings an unbelievable amount of experience and network to the business, which is great. So I'll get straight into the slides, and both myself and Rob will kind of elaborate on certain things that we go through. One thing that marketing always say, and they said, don't forget when you get on the seminar, is make sure that you check out our YouTube channels. So I've done that to appease them, but also genuinely there's some great content on there. We've got day in the life videos, insights on colleges, insights on hockey players we've got out there already. So do feel free to have a look. We've also got previous trial events that Rob's run for us up at University of Edinburgh. And also you can watch highlights from other hockey players that we've got, because I think it can be helpful to gauge what level you're at compared to other athletes that we're representing. So yeah, feel free to go on the website, ussportsscholarships.com as well, if this is of initial interest. Fill in the application, takes a couple of minutes to fill out, and then we can get back to you, Rob or myself, or part of the wider team in terms of feedback on your eligibility for the process. So that being said, why would you look to go to America? We'll start kind of generic and then hone in on hockey, but there are over 5,000 colleges and universities in the States. To be fair, Rob, where is it you've been in the States? I can't remember.
I've been to Florida, and my girlfriend was based in Toronto.
Cool. Okay, cool. So a bit across both. So I'd never been to the States before I moved there. I don't want to bore people with my story because I feel like I'm doing it on every video, but I lived in Chicago for 4 years. Absolutely loved my time out there. But yeah, definitely was naive to the sheer scale of America and how many colleges there are. For those of you, for example, UK based, obviously you can apply to 5, but you might be considering 2, 3 universities max. So, there's a huge, vast amount, and obviously as many good ones you can also go wrong with that as well. So it's really important you find the right school. And look, ironically, maybe I wouldn't have, gone into this industry, but if I was placing myself now, I would have never placed myself at the school that I went to. A good fit academically, but not athletically, and that was super important to me at the time. But financially, it can make a lot of sense. Over 95% of student athletes in the States are paying significantly less for university in their own country. Obviously, there's certain countries where there's different nuances on that. For example, in Scotland with the education system. However, for a lot of athletes, financially, it can make a lot of sense. And also with hockey, it is an established NCAA sport, so there are still huge scholarships to be had, and we'll talk about the different divisions shortly. Now, if you put that into perspective on the scale, over 800 unis offered international student athletes over $25,000 in athletic scholarship every year. So that's basically saying, if Rob come and play for us, there's over $100,000 we'll give you just to play hockey and obviously do your degree. So unbelievable opportunity. In terms of, a lot of people often ask us is like, how does it rank the education system compared to their home country? Google top 10 universities in the world academically. Normally it's 6 or 7 of them are going to be American, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all these big programs. Now, naturally, I'm not here to say, work with us, we're necessarily going to get you into those schools. However, the flip of it is we have placed athletes at those schools. So, yeah, it's all about finding the right school for you and your individual needs. Having been out there, I would definitely testify to the fact it's the closest thing as being a professional athlete without being one. For example, like we were training twice a day. And obviously, for those of you, before I confuse you, I was there on a soccer scholarship. Obviously, Rob's here from hockey, but and we just said that you can't go on a men's hockey. I was there on a soccer scholarship. So we would train twice a day, normally once strength and conditioning or gym session, and then also train in the evening with the team during season. So same with soccer. Women's field hockey is a full sport, so it is pretty intense during season, which would run from September to November time, depending on how far you get. Pre-season in August, you might be playing 2-3 games every week. So yeah, super professional. Facilities are incredible, like Rob mentioned earlier. Opportunity to study in some of the greatest cities and obviously travel with hockey as well. we've all got social media, you know, experience the magic of college life. It's particularly like American football is kind of like the flagship program and sport out there. The amount of fans they get at games, you know, games on ESPN and TV, it's incredible, flying to games. So yeah, it's a realistic opportunity to use your talent and your academia to potentially graduate debt free and carry on playing at the highest level possible. So coming at it from a biased view, but it was the best decision I ever made, an absolute no-brainer for me. Now, moving on to the different college governing bodies, and to be honest, this is a more generic view. We'll talk specifically about women's field hockey shortly, but I thought it's still good to give context. Now, if you're listening and you're the student, or your daughter, for example, is the student, and their grades, I'll work off a UK system, but if they are essentially like a 5 and above on the number scale or a C and above, ideally from an academic perspective, you are well suited to a 4-year university. Now that falls under the NCAA, the NAIA. Now, if you're under that across all sports, you would look at a community college route, which is NJCAA. But we'll park that for today because typically, you know, for women's field hockey, we're talking about NCAA only. Now, with that, there are 3 divisions. Now, Division 3, in fact, it might be a good opportunity to move on to the next slide, but I'll park it here just quickly to say, as you can see, there's a huge amount of athletes out there. There's a large amount of sports across all governing bodies and divisions. So again, going back to my point earlier, really important that you find the right school for you. Now, when I move on to this, and apologies if you can't see too clearly, but again, there's more information on the website, is that, you know, there's almost 300 scholarship giving women's field hockey programs in the States across those 3 divisions we just talked about, Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Now, Division 1 and 2 are able to give athletic scholarship, whereas Division 3 can only give academic scholarship. However, as you can see on there, there's almost 200 Division 3 programs. There's a huge amount of opportunity still. You still can get large academic scholarships. Obviously, naturally, there's more likely to be a higher contribution because you therefore can't combine that with athletic scholarship. You're reliant just on the academic. However, again, like the school I went to, which is actually now a Division 3 program, they would cover 50% of tuition just for being an international student. So there's definitely loopholes and opportunities. So it's not one where you should say, well, we won't be able to go to a D3 because of that. And also, just to kind of add some more information and context and hopefully not confuse you, with certain schools like a Harvard or a Yale, for example, which are what's regarded as an Ivy League school, they are financially aid based. So that means you don't need a huge budget necessarily in order to be able to go there. You know, if you've got a lower household income, you might qualify for more financial aid. However, as you can imagine, that is the peak of the peak in terms of what programs you'd look to go to. Therefore, the competition is huge. If you're going to a Harvard or Yale, you are going to need straight A's or straight 7 to 9s, or in the highers, obviously equivalent to that for those in Scotland. And therefore, you are also going to need a high SAT. So it's super competitive landscape. But yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that. But the last comment for me would just be that, you know, the standard and the hockey can be good, you know, just as good across all divisions as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the key people mix up, is that not necessarily the lower division means a worse hockey program. So it's just definitely something to bear in mind.
Yeah, so Rob makes a good point. You can't get relegated or promoted. So if you have a really good season in Division 3, you're not going to become a Division 2 school. That's based on various factors that apply to the whole school. It's not based on how good their women's field hockey program is. But look, we've also added there the number of scholarships that are available and the size of the roster. Again, to highlight for those that can give athletic scholarship, unfortunately, they can't just have a blank checkbook and sign who they want. They are limited. And what happens is, as their student athletes graduate, that scholarship then gets refunded back into the program. So don't get me wrong, there's definitely an element of luck in this because, you know, if Rob was one of our athletes and he said, I like the look of Stanford, for example, or Northwestern, you know, unfortunately, unless they're looking for a goal scorer that season, maybe it just won't work because there's different positional needs as well. Moving on from that, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, particularly this time of year where we're filming this, which is peak exam time for everybody, is that quick overview is that if you're an international, and to be fair, if you're any student looking to go to a 4-year university, so we talked about NCAA, so it is highly relevant here. pre-COVID, you would have to do either the SAT or the ACT entrance exam in order to be eligible to compete at one of their schools. Now, obviously, it wouldn't have been a great idea to get 40, 50 strangers in a room and take an exam. So what they said was, now it's not compulsory, it's optional. However, before if you're a student and start get excited about the fact that you don't need to do another exam, is we've still been recommending that all our student athletes take the exam, because just because the NCAA says you don't need it, it doesn't mean the 300 schools that compete within there don't still require it as part of their admission. So this actually needs updating. I've just noticed, Rob, is that obviously the SAT exam's gone from 3 hours plus essay down to 2 hours. So that's also another positive for you there. And also it's done digitally. I'm that much of a dinosaur. We had to do it on pencil and paper, but they finally got into the 21st century and they started doing it digitally, which means quicker processing. You still have to sit it in person though. So long story short is, for example, if you're looking to go August next year when you're watching this, then what I would say is get that SAT done as soon as possible. There's test dates all throughout the year, normally 6. For our athletes, we've got practice exams, so you should feel comfortable with what you're scoring prior to do it. Yeah, unless you've got anything to add on exams, Rob, I'll move on. Always,
Nope, all good.
always a fun topic. So real quick overview of us. Again, don't want to spend too much time on this, but U.S. Sports Scholarships. We've been doing this for over 11 years now, since I returned from America on a scholarship. Ironically, me and my colleagues who started the business all had really bad experiences using companies. So kind of ironic what we've gone into. But what we want to do is provide the service that we would have wanted as college athletes. So we actually all felt that we were doing the process ourselves. No surprise, the companies that we went with no longer exist, because it's not really a sustainable model of not providing the service you say that you will. So yeah, we're super selective in how we work. We only offer 25 places on our women's hockey program each year. If I put that into perspective, we do get over 18,000 applications a year across all sports. However, although that might seem high volume if you're watching, naturally there's not that many. It soon filters down in terms of, are they eligible academically for what we're looking for? What level have they been playing at? Are they time-wise eligible, so they haven't been out of education too long? There's various different factors. Now, during that time, we've gone from 3 of us, we've got over 50 members of staff working for us. Rob didn't mention, but he is also obviously recruiting for us out in Australia now as well, to make use of that time. And we work with, as I said, like thousands of scholarship given universities in the States. We have placed now over 1,200 athletes at over 700 different schools in over 40 states, which we're really proud of, and secured over $25 million in scholarships. So believe it or not, for some people, I have been where you are right now, though we wouldn't have had something fancy as this. It would have been on a projector, but I was sitting and looking, thinking to go out to America, albeit a very long while ago. So we're all experienced, either college athletes or like Rob, high level, athletes that have played the game at the best level. Connected in the sense we work with every single women's hockey program in America. Trusted and respected. We've been doing this a long while, one of the longest in the business, and the personal thing is really key for us. As I said, that's what we pride ourselves on, providing that personal service, so that when a hockey coach rings up Rob or myself, he doesn't have to get up a file or start thinking, oh, who's that? We know all of our athletes, and it might be of that 25. So like, we might only have 3 goalies. So it's, here are 3 best goalies, and we can give them detail on each of them, and then they can obviously move forward with the ones that they're interested in. So huge amount of value for that. And as I said, like, we've got Trustpilot page, etc. So we back ourselves with the service we provide, and yeah, happy to put anyone who's listening in touch with any of our other athletes or parents as well. That's enough about us. So yeah, again, maybe a little update here, but we are getting over 18,000 applications now. To be fair, I think I've covered all of this. A lot of people talk about full scholarships. We're not in that camp. What I'd say is it's best to prepare yourself for worst case scenario. If it happens to be less, than happy days. Because the experience I had was, they told me and my family, look, you're a good player, you've got good grades, it's going to cost you nothing. Of course, we wanted to sign up for the process straight away. Now, I went to a school that was $40,000 a year, ended up paying 8, which is great. I'm fully grateful of the 32,000 scholarship I had. Obviously, over 4 years, you're looking over 100K in scholarship. However, 8K cost isn't great when you've been told it's going to be 0. So we're all about managing expectations for that. And we can have further discussions with you or your family on that, because every sport is slightly different. So yeah, I think that's enough on that. yeah, the key thing for us is providing that full 4 year support while you're in the States, because again, like I say, I won't talk about myself and then I just end up doing it anyway. But after 2 years in the States, I wanted to move schools. I knew I could have played at a higher level and got more scholarship. And the company I went through weren't blue ticking back in those days. They were just ignoring my emails and my calls. And I really feel like that is a regret of mine, that I didn't get the experience to go to a higher level and really get the most out of myself and go to a top degree school for a degree. So yeah, that's really important for us, providing that too. Already touched on this. I guess the frustrating but exciting part of the process is we don't know where you're going to end up until you start the process, right? Because we could think, and Rob might be chatting to one of the coaches and go, oh, I've got someone in mind that would be a good fit. But ultimately, hockey is subjective sport. And if you don't fit their style of play or personality, or they're not looking for a player in your position, it probably just isn't going to work out. Now, you could defer for a year and take a gap year, but with this market, it's ever evolving, and they might go, okay, well, yeah, if you wait a year, we might need a goalie, for example. Well, actually, their goalie they've currently got has decided to stay on for another year and do a master's because they've got the eligibility. So, yeah, I wouldn't advise that strategy. But yeah, hopefully that's also the exciting part, is you don't know where you're going to end up as well. Talked about Trustpilot. That is a terrible picture of me, so let's skip through that as quickly as possible. But what I would say is, like, as cliche as it sounds, it was a life-changing experience for me. Always wanted to be a professional soccer player. Didn't work out, as with 99.9% of players, in the UK and probably worldwide. However, I was either going to go to uni in the UK, like my sister, getting a ton of debt. She amassed over £85,000 during those 3 years. The benefit to the UK system is you can obviously whack it on a student loan, worry about a later date. We do, in fact, also, part of the group is we do run UK Sports Scholarships. So there are opportunities there, but I think I'll save that for another time. But yeah, I did fairly well out there. Got a lot of accolades in terms of athletics and also academia, and graduated with a perfect straight A 4.0 grade point average. And last year was inducted into Hall of Fame at my university. So yeah, for me, it's life-changing, and now able to help the next generation with the same opportunities. Obviously, just looking at an overview of really the business, as I said, Rob heads up the field hockey program. I'm overseeing the business, but obviously get involved across various sports. But we do have people who are specialists in those sports heading that up, because what you'll often find in this industry is a company might list every single sport under the sun, but have they actually got people who actually know what they're talking about in those sports and have the right coaching networks? That's really important for us to only, work in sports where we know that we've got people that are specialists with that. In terms of the people that we work with, obviously we talked about the NCAA, which is the main focus for field hockey, but we've also got partners such as Neil at Complete Hockey, based in Edinburgh, but also they do camps down here where I'm based in Suffolk in the UK as well. So really important partner for us. Spider Hockey Coaching also has been really helpful in terms of running trial events for us. So yeah, obviously, there's a variety of different partners here, but they're kind of the two standouts for us, as well as obviously the Wildcats through Rob as well, who have been really helpful for us. Am I missing anyone? I'm not doing an acceptance speech for an Oscar, but am I missing anyone else, Rob?
Well, hopefully YMCC in Australia to add to that by the end of this summer. That's
Well, yeah,
the goal.
yeah, exactly that. So, as I said, that's the reason why Rob's there as well, to play. There's a huge amount of talent there. So, look, some of you might be joining us today from Australia as well, and it's definitely an area of growth for us. We've already got a lot of, Southern Hemisphere athletes, particularly in soccer, rugby, and golf. So, yeah, hockey is definitely an area for us to focus on as well. So what have I got in here? So we'll skip those last two slides because I've got to delete them. But I just want to talk really about how we can help you as a student athlete. And there's various different packages for that. Hopefully over the years, we've made this as simple as possible. First and foremost, I talked about the 25. Anyone can go on our website and start the process literally today, whether you're 13 years old, whether you're 18 years old, wherever you're at in the process, whether it's new to you or whether you've been doing it a while. You can go on there. Now, that online platform is just a one-time fee. You get access to everything that one of our signed athletes would. We've got a university database where you can research all of the schools, watch the campus videos, learn more about the programs. I do get there's something called Google, but this in particular would have been something I would have loved back in the day, because I did not have an idea. I didn't even know Illinois was a state, let alone there was a school there. So it was really helpful for us, particularly like when you're going through the process. If a school makes contact, you can then research them and learn more about that. Your athletic profile still goes on the same coach's website that all of our assigned athletes does. That's accessed by over 800 coaches every single month across all sports, who's still getting that exposure the same. And you get to attend all of our trial events for free. Hopefully we'll get one in Australia soon, but we've got plenty in the UK right now and across Europe. So yeah, one-time fee, you get access to all of that. So yeah, it's a really good, I'd always see it as a starting point in the process, and then you can always move up the packages, which moves me on to the next one. I would say this package is really well suited to even an American or Canadian athlete that's already familiar with the process, or even a younger athlete, as again, so more of a step up from the online package. So you still get access to everything we just talked about in the online package itself, but you also, in terms of the same support as a top level, one of our 25, we check your eligibility, your grade point average. We would calculate guidance on eligibility center for the NCAA, which can be really important, visa guidance. You still get access to me, Rob, Nicola, Neil, the wider hockey team that we've got here at US Sports Scholarships. And we also provide you guidance on how to contact coaches, insurance, flights, everything. So you're still getting a lot there. I'd say the key difference is we do not actively contact our coaching network on behalf of you. So even though you're on the website, we're not, having those continuous touch points throughout the process, supporting you while you're in America through to graduation. So that kind of moves me on to the Premier Athlete package, which is what we've built the business up from, which is the 25 women's field hockey athletes every year. Now, obviously, we do that across all sports. So where there's men's sports opportunities as well. So 50 soccer, 50 rugby, 50 track and field, 50 golf, 25 field hockey. So we're still representing hundreds of athletes every year. But as I said, you get that personalised attention and care from Rob and his team on field hockey if you fall under that sport. Now, everything we've already discussed, you get with that. Plus, as I said, you have like WhatsApp group, you've got Google Drive where we can share resources, and really, all our athletes will get placed. And then, as I said, the key thing is providing the support for the 4 years. So you're going to be a different player and a student after, say, for example, 2 years in America. So maybe like me, you would like to move to another school because ultimately your degree comes from where you finish, not where you start. There's no additional fee for us to do that. Obviously, it looks great on everyone if we're moving you on to a really good program to finish up your degree. So yeah, if you want to kind of, as I said, this can be a really overwhelming, complicated process. If you want, guided through that from start to finish, that's our Premier Athlete package. Because for me, it was super stressful, the whole thing. Surprised I even got out there in the end. I had to take a gap year because I didn't get advised on the SAT, and I also didn't get advised on the eligibility centre, which ironically I failed as well. So they're the 3 packages. Again, Rob, I don't know if I've missed anything there that you can think of.
No, that looks good.
Cool, all good. Quick screenshots here. Obviously, this is the athlete area. So Rob's just signed with us. Rob, here's everything you need to get done between now and when you go out to America. Browse the uni database. There's another screenshot there. As I said, with the entrance exams we talked about, you've got helpful videos, practice exams. We've got partners that can give tuition. Something which don't really need to chat about today, but if you are listening and you'll know well about the process, but if you're a women's field hockey player in the States right now, you're already in the system. If you look to transfer, that is something we can help with as well. Athlete database, coaches database, the one I was mentioning is accessed by over 800 every month. Here's some screenshots from that. So if I'm a women's field hockey college coach, sign in here. I can say, look, I'm looking for a women's field hockey athlete for 2024, and it will bring up all the relevant results. So, for example, here's one of our track athletes, highlight video, which is important, and we can help with that process as well. We know what they're looking for. Bit like if you're going through Facebook, as everyone does, you need to grab their attention soon. If not, they'll soon flick through. And coaches are contacted by hundreds, if not thousands, of potential athletes for scholarships every single month. So that's not the only way we obviously promote our athletes. Rob and his team will also proactively contact the coaches. They've got those personal relationships with them. So yeah, it's all about that personal touch. Flying through these. So guarantees, obviously, I'm sure this all sounds amazing, right? Spring break in Cancun, live in Florida, for example, for 4 years, potentially come out, graduate in debt free or as close to it as possible. However, hopefully what you got from this short, seminar is that we can't guarantee what the offers are, where they come from, or the percentages. However, as I said, we can guarantee you'll get the best possible chance of getting all those things and getting the right school for you, academically, athletically, location-wise, and financially. And without sounding like a teacher, obviously it's about you as well. You've got to maximize your chances. If you're listening to this now and you're going into your high school examinations, obviously how you do is going to impact how attractive you are to coaches. The better grade you have, they're always going to like that, because then you qualify for more academic scholarship. So therefore, they're less reliant on giving you athletic scholarship if you are a Division 1 or a Division 2 coach. So yeah, what package you choose, how you get on with your grades, how you get on with your SAT exam, how you perform when you're filmed. Luckily nowadays everyone has footage. I think basically would have done it on a phone back in the day if I was lucky. So really great that most people film the games, which obviously helps us promote to our coaching network, and ultimately how you get on with the coaches and where you look to go, because I absolutely loved living in Chicago. I don't regret that at all. It's one of my favorite cities. But for some of you, that might be a nightmare. You'd rather be somewhere less in a big city, or what you want from a coach as well, because something might look perfect on paper. So we have a spreadsheet which we update with our clients when the interest and offers come in. And Rob might say, this looks a really good fit for you. You might get on the call and think, actually, I'm not really sure about the coach. I don't like the style of play. But what we'd also do is Rob would also get you to chat to one of their international athletes, because to be fair, there's going to be Americans listening to this, so I don't want to offend any, but I just think it's the case in any situation. Rob, even for you now in Australia, I think you've got friends there on the team, or you've got other Scottish nationals that are there. If you were the only Scottish player and you were on a roster of 30 Australians, it is going to be difficult for you to settle in, because they're not going through the same experience as you. So obviously Rob's, thankfully for us, only there for a short while. However, if you're there for 4 years, they're not going to be missing home the same as you. They're not going to be adapting to different cultures, training methods, everything. So I don't know if you agree with that, Rob, but I found it really helpful when I was out there that I had other internationals there with me.
Yeah, it's made a big difference. I mean, here you've got a maximum of 3 import players allowed, and yeah, it's so helpful to have, a couple of other guys there that are the same, new city, new life, not knowing, where things are or what to do, and yeah,
Yeah.
having that has definitely helped settle in massively.
Yeah. And again, obviously, look, Rob, me, the team are also there to support you for the 4 years while you're out there. It's not like my experience where once I headed out there, I never heard from them again. And obviously, they ignored me when I wanted to transfer. But as soon as I started winning awards, they wanted to use my testimonial. So again, that's not what we're there for. It's really important we support you all the way through to graduation and beyond. You're happy to know, and I realized that was super quick, but hopefully helpful. Our website is a great resource for elaborating on a lot of the stuff we've just covered there, but I'll quickly run through the FAQs. Want to find out if you're eligible? Go on the website, ussportsscholarships.com, fill in the application, takes 2 minutes to do. Highlight videos, we can talk about at a later stage. You can take a gap year. I did, although not out of choice, but if you've just finished your education, or you did last year, depending on the time that you're watching this, you can still take that calendar gap year before going out to America and not have any eligibility issues. We talked about the SAT, what you can study. A lot of people think it has to be sports related because you're there on a sports scholarship, but no, you can study what you want. I did business, sports science and business, probably most popular of athletes, but we've also got some doing aerospace engineering, architecture, maths, English, whatever you want to study. Obviously, if you pick something quite niche, then the chances of the school you're looking to go to having it is just limiting your chances. What did your other half study when she was in Canada, Rob?
Equine management, so sort of to do with horses,
Okay, cool. So yeah,
so
like you can
quite niche.
but yeah, if you're listening right now and that's what you want to do, just realize there's probably going to be very few. But amazing for her that she was able to find that program in the States. Incredible, Canada. So ideal time to apply. I'd actually say with hockey, it's probably definitely at the 2 year mark. But don't panic if you're listening and it's like, well, about a year in advance. But yeah, naturally, because in America they go straight from high school to university. There's no, like in the UK, college, or in terms of BTEC or A levels for sixth form. Players will be looking at where they want to go, like 14, 15, very young. Now, the main benefits of starting the process early, although it is a massive decision. Once you decide you want to do it, you've got, well, more service from us if you're one of our clients on one of the packages, but ultimately there's just more scholarships available. Now, going into your junior year, coaches are able to talk to you via NCAA rules from June 15th. So like 2 years in advance of you starting. So that's good to know as well. Scholarship, hopefully what you got from today, there's various different factors at various different schools, whether they're D1, D2 or D3, and ways that they can, maximize your scholarship to reduce your costs. Other costs we can talk about at a later date if of interest. We've talked about entrance exams, eligibility centres, flights, health insurance, transcript evaluation if you're an international, and visa. But yeah, the way I made it work financially, and most of our athletes do, you can work on campus with a student visa. So as I said, my costs were $8,000. I was earning about $6,000, which is how I was able to graduate debt free at the end of the 4 years, having got a degree and experience worth $160,000. Now, what's next? As I said, we're always recruiting for the next 2 years in advance. So recording this in 2023, we are looking for 2024, 2025. We do have some athletes who are younger, starting at 2026, obviously fewer, as you can imagine, because it's so far in advance for those that are international. Feel free to register for one of our upcoming events. Feel free to obviously apply. We've also got, as I said, social media channels. We've got a Facebook group that anyone can join for free advice as well. So as I said, the website's got loads of free advice on there too. I'll take a breath now. I think I've spoke there constantly for about 25 minutes, but well versed in doing so. I hope everyone found it helpful. Really appreciate you listening. I don't think I need to push the social channels anymore. I think that's enough. But Rob, I don't know if you had any kind of final thoughts or next steps for people beyond what I've said.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward once you get the process underway. We're here 24/7 with a group chat, and there'll be plenty of opportunities to ask us questions along the way, or ask us questions before you sign up if you're still unsure.
Yeah, so Rob and his team, like if you apply, they'll obviously want video footage, potentially a coaching reference, and then beyond that, can organise a Zoom call just to run through the process. Again, there's no cost at all. And I think the main thing for me and Rob, like I wouldn't say, Rob, you've got regrets because it wasn't a possibility for you, but we come across hundreds, if not thousands, of athletes who look at it, maybe decide not to, and then maybe regret it at a later date. So as long as you've got all the information you need and you decide whether it's for you or not, that's absolutely fine. You're going to have no regrets with it, because as cliche as it said, I keep saying it, it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Once you've been out of education longer than 12 months, particularly for the NCAA sports, you are going to have issues with eligibility. But yeah, hopefully everyone found that helpful. Really appreciate you listening. I've never done this before. Is it cliche? Is it cheesy to say make sure you subscribe and like the video? I feel like I'm an influencer there, but why not? I've said it now. But thanks everyone, and hopefully we'll speak to you and your family soon.